City Council Chambers, 429 C Street, July 7, 2020. Please silence all electronic devices as a courtesy of those in attendance. Thank you. Invocation. I'm forgetting her name. Kimberly Nelson. Please stand. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance afterwards.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you, Lord Jesus, for this opportunity and to come together as a community, Lord God, to be able to make decisions, Lord God, and to support each other, Lord. I pray, Father God, for wisdom for our leaders here that are standing before us. I ask you, Father God, to help them and guide them in all that they do. I ask for protection over their families. I pray over our city, Lord, with this coronavirus, and I ask for this world to be protected, Lord, and end this thing. I pray over our police department, Lord God, and I ask for protection for our police across this nation and protection over all peoples across this nation. Lord God, you see us and you know us and you call us by name. I pray, Father God, for your mercy upon us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Be seated. Marissa?
Good evening. Councilmember Lyons.
Here.
Councilmember Scaldi.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Ford.
Present.
Mayor Neal.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Closed session reports.
Nothing to report, Mayor and Council.
Agenda approval additions or deletions, are there any? I see there's not. Okay, we're going on to public comment. State your name, address, where you're from. Come up to the podium. Give you 3 minutes.
Jennifer Solis. I will talk loud through my mask, I promise. 757 Redwood Lane. I know that the sales tax is later, so is now an appropriate time for me to just talk about a budget question that I had? Is that okay? Since it's not sales tax.
As long as it's not related to the item that's later on.
That's what I just wanted to make sure, because I know it's kind of similar, just make it, thank you for answering my question. I appreciated the conversation that happened at the last city council meeting that between Amy Ward and the city council, that we knew the budget was cut, but once we heard and understood the trade-off, it changed the conversation. And so I was very impressed with that because I do believe that we can make decisions without understanding the trade-offs. We can cut a number without understanding what that means. I would like to see more of those conversations. The conversations I've had in the past 2 weeks, I went into the Lemoore PD because I had a meeting with Maggie Ochoa. Sorry, this is hard to talk and breathe. And she had just got done cleaning the windows at the Lemoore PD because janitorial has been cut from the budget. And I understand it was cut because we thought, cost of staff, and you guys have heard me about the trade-offs, in the financial department of, having an employee that takes payments. Can we have a different trade-off? Can we eliminate the online fee because we're just encouraging people to go inside and it's costing us more, right? Like, let's talk about the trade-offs. So when I look at the Lemoore PD, and I know we don't have enough officers, and I know they go out for, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, every stupid phone call us residents ask for, and to ask them to also wash windows, I respect that decision, but to me, I'm a financial person, so I look at the numbers. How much does she get paid? Or any Lemoore PD or any city employee? We just learned how much all of them got paid with PERS and benefits and all that. Even the lowest paid city employee, I believe, is still more expensive than the janitorial staff. And so those are those trade-offs I want to talk about. What are we giving up Are we giving up? Are they not able to be as responsive? Are they not able to do that? Same with the pest control. I know it's pest control would say every other month. They went to every 3 months. That raises cobwebs, which raises janitorial, which then now raises city staff doing it. So a conversation about trade-offs I thought was great at the last meeting, and I hope to see more of those asked. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Mr. Connie Galashan?
Connie Wolashan, 523 C Street in Lemoore. I have a couple of comments. I was concerned when I read in the paper, or in the leader on Facebook, that the Lemoore Volunteer Fire Department had a COVID 2020 party, 2 weeks ago. And I was flabbergasted that only 66 people showed up out of 100. And I'm sorry, I can't catch my breath for some reason. And no, I'm not sick, I promise you that. I can't say that. March 17th in 2020, the council reviewed and revised and approved a resolution 2016 proclaiming the existence or threatened existence of a local emergency, COVID-19. And then I read that you guys had a party. And I realized that it was a thank you for the wives, but I feel that was so irresponsible. And I feel like that was so irresponsible, and I have a hard time. I'm scared for you guys, we depend on you so much for the services that you do, the fire department does. And then to have a party with all those people together. So anyway, and I wanted to know, when did Mr. Olson know as a city manager when did he know when the party was going to be held? He should have known. He said he didn't know he thought it was Friday and it was Saturday. So I just feel like that was irresponsible. And second thing is, I couldn't find in the budget where is the city still paying Chris Com for consultation fees? And I couldn't find it, and I wanted to know whose budget it was under. And the last one I have, and I still have questions about the city property at the industrial park sold to Mr. Voorhees. I asked for a link 2 weeks ago, and I didn't get it, but I did get a bunch of stuff from Marissa, but it wasn't the final disposition of that sale. I got the copy of the bill of sale, and there were questions that I emailed Nathan, but there were several things, like the property was supposed to revert back to the city if Mr. Voorhees didn't do all of this stuff, and Mr. Olson did tell me some of the things but then I had questions that he had paid a $5,000 deposit. Did he get that paid? Did he get that back? It was non-refundable if he didn't follow the terms of the contract by the end of the year.
30
She
seconds.
needs to wrap it up.
Okay. I started the story. She got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Are you telling me to stop?
The red light is.
Yeah, I know, it's on.
Okay.
So-
Give you guys 3 minutes. But we understand.
Never mind.
Okay. Do you want to answer any of the questions?
I'll get back to her on email.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get Captain Douglas Patterson. Is Patterson in? Can you go ahead?
Mayor, Council,
How you doing, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
All right.
I'm glad we're all well. We need to be now. Okay, I'm here to address the previous readings of ordinance 2020 tag 0506.
So, excuse me, sir, that's a later agenda item. This is just regular public.
Okay,
That's okay, I have nothing else until then. I'm happy to wait.
Okay.
okay. Somebody gave it to me on.
Items not on the agenda.
Hey guys, Amy Ward, Chamber. I just wanted to let you guys know of two big events or things that we have going on at the Chamber this month. On the 16th of July, we will be hosting a virtual mixer. As you know, with COVID, it's completely changed how we do business and how we can hold events. So we are going to be doing a virtual mixer. I think that it's really important that the city is represented on this call because one of the topics will be this potential sales tax increase. So it'll give you guys the opportunity to talk to the businesses one-on-one. So I hope you guys will join us. If you guys want that link, let me know. Shoot me an email and we'll send that to you. Again, it's a great opportunity for you guys to be able to talk to people.
What time is that?
It's at 5:00 on the 16th. The other thing that I'm excited to announce is that we are getting ready to launch a 3-month once a month kind of HR training for our local businesses. It's virtual seminars. The very first one will be at the end of this month. I believe it's the 29th. Now the date escapes me. I think it's at 2. And I'm excited. This first one will be discussing workplace bias and discrimination. So really with what we've seen nationally, we owe it to our businesses to ensure that their hiring practices, that their cultural workplace, all of those kind of things, that they're considering that. And so I'm really excited that our chamber is being proactive about it and giving these resources to our business. So again, if you guys want information on that, let me know. These are virtual seminars, so there is some fees involved. But for chamber members, there is a discount. So
What do you use? Do you use Facebook or do you use like Zoom or something or?
for which? For these seminars?
Yeah.
They're Zoom. Most of them are Zoom. And then for like the coffees and different things, we go through Zoom and then we stream live to our Facebook page. So, but with the virtual mixers and the seminars, those will just be on Zoom. They're not public, but we do record them. So,
Okay.
but we will also follow up with other HR issues, FMLA laws, and different things like that. So if you guys are interested, let us know and we'll get you guys that information. And then lastly, we are working. I did receive an email from Nathan, which I appreciated about the Christmas parade. So we are working. I did meet with my board and discuss some of the options that we have. So I'm excited to bring that back to you guys in the future. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I don't owe you $5,000?
Miss Marissa.
Oh, you still do.
Marissa,
There's not even an agenda.
excuse me.
There's nothing on the TVs.
Huh?
There's nothing for tonight. The agenda's in front of you, so she doesn't have it up.
No, I'm talking about
She's
the light.
talking about the
I'm talking about the light. Why ain't the light working?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Jesus Garcia. I reside at 984 East D Street here in the city of Lemoore. A couple of weeks ago, I was here in front of you, talking to you, expressing my opinion about the situation that we were in the cleanliness of our downtown. You remember I challenged you guys to come down and actually walk the streets to see what it looked like instead of just driving by. I want to thank Mr. Scully that took me up on that. Thank you for your time. I know you came down, we walked around a little bit, and you saw exactly what I was talking about. So thank you for that. I don't know if anybody else did, but he's the only one that I saw and stopped by and we chat for a few minutes.
Okay.
The other thing that I really want to talk to you guys about is that I received a phone call from Ms. Soledad Perez from the department, police department, telling me that Commander Ochoa was interested in sitting down and talking to me about what my concerns were about in downtown. So we met for a good 30 to 45 minutes, where I said it was a very productive meeting. And I shouldn't say it was my surprise, but to my very surprise that Lieutenant Smith was one of the members that was present during the meeting. And he talked to me and told me that some of his officers volunteered to come down and actually clean our streets. I really don't know what to say, about the police officers that we have in the community. We have Lieutenant Smith, Lieutenant Santos, Sergeant Avelar, Corporal Brawley, Officers Trevino, Ortega, Stevens. We have Ms. Soledad Perez. Some other individuals that they do not even live in our community. They do not live in our town. And they were here a little bit after 6:30 in the morning, cleaning our streets. I was there helping, and I had my son and another one of our employees, helping out. So there's really no words for me to thank them about their support that they're giving us in this. They don't get paid to come down and clean our streets, guys. They don't. So we need to support them as much as we can. And again, I want to thank you for really taking the time that you come down and really saw what we were talking about. Our streets are looking a little bit better. And now we just noticed this last Saturday, we had a great business. I just opened up, the doors in downtown, and I am hoping that they really, I heard about they're going to be helping us out, maintaining that the park and, clean up a little bit, helping us with the streets. So I'm really hoping that happens. Okay. So again, thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Hudson, 14 South Byron Drive. Council, just wanted to talk about a little bit about perception. Perception is what you're going to be hoping that people feel that what you're presenting to the public is worthy and good. Sometimes, as Mr. Sheldy was downtown, walking around, I saw him walking downtown numerous times. I saw him driving up some of the side roads. So perception is he's out there looking. The other perception is everybody's been talking about transparency. Being transparent. The worst thing you could have done is have a party for the fire department. It looks bad, right? Whether everybody was social distance, there was nobody within 6 feet of each other, it looks like the city doesn't care. Because if everybody at the fire department got COVID and couldn't go out, we have to rely on Kings County. So the perception. So I hope you pay attention to that, because you want to get something passed later on this year. And if you're perceived as don't care, then you won't get it passed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Come on up, sir. State your name, address, where you're from. 3 minutes.
TJ Johnson, 1597 Mission Drive, Lemoore, California. Well, I just want to say, I just want to ask a couple questions. Has there been a forensic audit done on the city's budget for the last 5 years? Also, I want to know what you guys have done to look into the legal limits for the water here in Lemoore. Do you guys mind if I take this off?
Go ahead.
Can't breathe with that.
I know.
But I want to know what you guys have done for the legal limit for the water in Lemoore. I checked this website, and it's the EWG. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but basically they say that the level in Lemoore, when they tested it, it was over 1,500 above the legal limit for arsenic. So I want to know what you guys are doing to combat that, to keep our people safe, because arsenic causes cancer. Also, the fluoride limit is the last record I could find was 2014. The level was 1.6, I believe, milliliters per milliliter. There was that much fluoride in it, and the legal limit is 0.8, so it's double the legal limit 6 years ago. So I want to know what we're doing to combat that, to help the city of Lemoore. Also, what we're doing basically for the city budget, what exactly, how we can see where all that money's going, and how we can also, if you guys would be willing to put some of that budget aside for the youth programs here in Lemoore, to spread youth programs, awareness programs, bringing the NAACP here to the high school chapters, things like that. If you guys would be interested in participating with us and helping get things like that involved. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything else because I had some notes, but next meeting we'll definitely address this, and I appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can you set the time?
I'm just going to take this off because I'm already short as it is. I do want to address the fire department for having that party.
Mayor, what's her name?
Can you state your name and address?
I'm sorry. My name is Dr. Gail Crooms. I live at 975 Murphy Drive here in Lemoore. I was called and was told by Parks and Recreation because the NAACP had secured a place in order to have a party or a gathering. And we were told that Thursday before the party on Saturday that the city was shutting down. So I do have an issue with the fire department, and I know that they have keys to all the buildings because that's their responsibility. And that is not fair for them to have a party after the city was shut down. Transparency is important. That makes us all look bad, and that's not acceptable.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, take your time.
Dr. Crystal Jackson, President NAACP. Good evening, everyone.
Can you say your name and address? Your address? Where you from?
1159 Belinda Drive.
Thank you.
You gonna give me 15 more seconds then?
Yes, I sure will.
Thank you. Okay, in regards to the fire department's party and the NAACP's event, it wasn't a party. As you know, there were many protests that have been had since the George Floyd killing, homicide, murder, whatever you choose to call it, had happened. So as a leader in this community, I encourage our young people to bring it to the table. The next thing is they hear your voice from marching. Now your next level is to talk to the leaders. So that was a meeting to have the talk where our leaders, which were safe, we had a safe distance, we had everything properly put in place for that event. And to be told the day before that we could not have that event because the governor had shut every building down. Yes, I'm looking at you, Nathan, because you were the one that made that phone call.
You got to address me.
Okay, I'll keep it here.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Olson was the one that made that phone call to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then to hear that a party was more important than the voices of the people, to try to get questions answered and to try to have a peaceful resolution where people wanted to have their voices heard, they wanted to have answers. That is unsat for the city. I cannot blame the mayor for this. I cannot blame the councilman for this. I know exactly where the blame goes, but I have to look at you and address you because you are the mayor. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Reed, you sure you don't want to? Okay. I'm messing with you. Okay. Going on. Closing public comments, going on the ceremony and presentation, section 1. I see there's none. Going on to department and city manager reports. Do you have any?
Yeah, just a few items. One, NHC Natural Healing Centers open this weekend. I don't know if anybody's been down there to see it, but the place is immaculate. I encourage you to go check it out. The owner reached out to me, I guess it was Monday, and asked if NHC could kind of take over the park next door. They want to bring arborists in and prune all the trees, redo the landscape, provide ground cover, rebuild all the benches, put the plaques back on, and basically just uplift that whole area. They also offered to pay for continued maintenance on that park for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
So good opening, good partner to have downtown. And if you haven't been downtown at night, drive through there. It's beautiful what they've done to the place. Monday actually begins the date to pull papers for council. So Monday, if anybody's interested in the district's has an election being held, you can come down to the city. The city clerk has the papers for you. And then lastly, CARES Act funding. The city is slated to receive about $337,000 in CARES Act funding. It has to go towards COVID-related expenses. So to date, the city is somewhere south of 30,000 between buying supplies to have people work from home and things of that nature. So there's still quite a bunch of money out there. The guidelines are being put together currently, but I'm looking for council to give me direction. I'd like to come back with a plan to take $150,000 of that COVID relief money and offer it to our small businesses that were impacted or had to close. And it's kind of up to each municipality how we dole it out or the parameters we put around it. But my thoughts would be we'd start out with the people that had to close 100%, kind of tier 1. People that had to close partially but still remained open, like restaurants that could do carry out, is maybe a tier 2. So what I'm looking for tonight is some direction from council. If you feel 150,000 is a good number, that would still leave about $100,000 or so for future expenses the city may incur, because we don't know what the future is going to hold. But yeah, I need some direction on what to bring back to council, because if we don't spend the money on COVID related expenses, we don't get it.
How about a board or something like that?
Pardon me?
How about a board or something like that?
I can't understand,
what?
Stuart.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I said, how about a board like that decides how,
oversight?
yeah, like an
Type
oversight
thing?
committee?
So it depends how we want to dole that out. Currently, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that the city of Hanford engaged the Main Street to help distribute funds to local businesses. And I believe the county is in line for, I want to see $15 million, and they're donating some of that to the county to distribute out. Or the county's going to give that money to the King's EDC to distribute to county business and local businesses. So kind of hot off the presses. So we'll bring something back. It's really at your direction how you want to do it. We have to account for all the funds. We have to show the state where we spend them at and things like that. But it has to be a COVID related expense or loss of business or closure.
So is this an item that you're looking for council direction to tell you to bring it back so that we can open it up for public discussion at that time?
Or just
because the
census.
public would have some input on it as well.
Direction.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Direction, so
Just a consensus for him to go ahead and bring a plan back
I concur.
regarding the money.
Absolutely. So I'm,
is that a motion or you just?
Okay,
No.
I got consensus. We'll bring it back next meeting.
Okay.
And that's it. Thank you.
All righty. Going down to,
you did apply for that application.
Yes, the deadline was it's the 10th, so yeah. Yeah, I already submitted it.
Okay. No other department heads?
Oh, and I forgot, on the parks website today, the Lemoore has the ability to apply for per capita funding from Prop 68 to the tune of $177,000. It does require 20 and 25% matching funds. So we're just diving into that. So I'll probably be coming back with some more on that in the near future too, but that's, we're gonna have to find the money to get the matching funds, but depending on what the grants can be used for, we'll be bringing a couple projects forth for your approval. Thank you.
thank you. Anything else, guys? Okay, moving on down to consent calendar, section 3. Item considered routine in the nature of place on the consent calendar. There will be a consider and a vote upon the vote as an item unless the council member or a member of the public requests individual consideration. 3-1 approval minutes, regular meeting, June 16, 2020. 3-2 approval minutes, special meeting, June 24th, 2020. 3-3 approval notice of completion, HP water system, biological rehabilitation of well 10.
I don't want to pull anything.
Anybody from the public want to pull anything? I see there's none.
I move the consent calendar.
Second.
So I got a motion by Mr. Pruitt and a second by Mr. Lyons. Mr. Pruitt?
Aye.
Mr. Lyons?
Aye.
Mr. Scotty?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Consent calendar passes. Going on to public hearing, section 4. 4-1, first reading ordinance number 2020/07, adding Article C of Chapter 3 of the City of Lemoore Municipal Code relating to a special sales and use tax and resolution 2020/23. Mr. Olson.
So good evening, Mayor and council members. This is an item that we received consensus to bring back to council. So tonight is for the approval to get this on the ballot to go to the voters to decide if they want to pass the sales tax initiative on a special tax to go towards essential services and law enforcement and fire.
So council, before you tonight is a resolution that would go to the county upon your approval regarding the ballot language and consolidation of the election. Also attached to that is the ordinance. So also before you tonight is an introduction and first reading of the ordinance related to the special tax measure as directed by council at previous meetings. And this has been an agenda item at a couple of meetings now. The tax measure is approximately 60 words. It can be up to 75. The special measure reads, Lemoore Public Safety Special Tax Measure to generate approximately $1,800,000 annually for 7 years to maintain local police and fire services, including prevention and enforcement. Excuse me. Shall the City of Lemoore enact a 1% sales and use tax requiring a Citizens Oversight Committee and annual reporting of expenses with all funds generated staying in the City of Lemoore? That's the essence of the ordinance and the resolution. The ordinance also sets forth the fact that this is a sales and use tax. We talked about that at the last meeting as well on the benefits of a use tax. And with that, if you have any additional questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I think nobody has any questions. Maybe we open the public hearing.
That's what I'm going to do. Public hearing, anybody want to expound on this?
It has been my understanding from day one, since I've been coming here, that we didn't have any money. Then all of a sudden, we get this marijuana dispensary and marijuana this, marijuana stores, marijuana that. And now that's supposed to be our fix all. We're going to have money coming in. We're going to do all of this and that. And now you're talking about 1% taken from us. No. I don't agree to that. No one in this city should agree to that. You insisted on having this multi-million-dollar marijuana dispensary and store. Nothing for the families here. We have to go outside of the city to go do something with our family, but yet you want to give us another tax? Is that the thank you that we get? No. I say no to it. And if you want, take it out of your budget, your own personal budget, but don't take it out of ours. We're tired of being taxed.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Ann Hodson, South Byron Drive. So firstly, I would like to say thank you for the last meeting where you actually agreed to a special tax to allow the voters to vote whether they wanted to give the 1% or not. I also was glad to hear that you were putting the word sales and use tax, because obviously a lot of people buy off Amazon, so at least that 1% would be going on that as well. The one point that I think is an issue with the wording is the length of time that you've put on this tax, considering that you can bring it back again and again and again if it gets passed. Putting nearly 2 terms of office as a length of time to take money off the citizens is quite a long time, and almost looks like you're not going to try and do something to rectify your current budget problems. I would like to suggest that you considered 4 years, because that's the length of time that you serve, and that looks like you're actually trying to put some effort into getting the budget back online. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
John Hudson, 14 South Byron. I live with her, but we have different points. Seriously, it comes down, if you want to get this passed, it's got to be marketed well. You don't have much money to market it. The citizens have a lot of money to defeat you. You need 2/3. With 1%, you won't get it. I think it will not pass with 1%, so you will have no money for the fire department. If you used some marketing sense and maybe used a 0.7 increase, so it would be 7.95% tax for Lemoore, I think you have a good chance of passing it. Perception is it's not 8%, it's not 8.25%. That brings you to about 1.3 to 1.4 million based on what your predictions are. 1.3 or $1.4 million is a lot better than none. To go ahead and put some 1%, you slide something under the 8%, nobody notices. It's a marketing type of philosophy. That's why you see everything in stores is something 0.95, $11.95. It's not 12, I'll buy it. $12.05, that's $12, I'm not buying it. Marketing what you need to support your police department, etc. in this city. Unless you market it right, you will lose. So this is the opportunity possibly to change the percentage. You might have a chance to pass it. Everybody wants to support law enforcement. We know you're going to need more law enforcement. You got all these drug houses in town, right? You're going to have a nice little place that they do up where people are going to be sitting outside and whatever they're doing. You're probably going to need more law enforcement. So to go with a big increase, I don't think you'll get it. Go with a smaller increase, you're probably going to get it. And that will help the city out because we're going to run into some problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
That's up to you, Mayor. But if she's already testified, if you let one person testify again, you need to let everybody testify again.
That's
at the
right.
public hearing.
Oh, yeah, this is public. Yeah, you can. Mhm.
We had this conversation over a year ago. The discussion before the council at that time was they tried to play around with the numbers then. Well, how about 0.8%? How about this percent? And still, the city said no. So now we're back at the same point. Now we come back to the same 1% again. When are you going to listen to what the city is saying? Is it about the dais or is it about the people? This is what I'm trying to understand because I was here at that meeting when the same question came up. And the only person that was sitting on the dais at that time was the mayor. He was pro tem at that time. And it was that 1%. And like I said, the numbers were played around with, and the people still said no. So how many times do the people still have to say no in order for you to hear no? That's all I have.
No.
Mr. King?
Just want to comment on the amount was 1.8 annually. And do you delineate in that document what goes for police, what goes for fire, and what goes for public? Don't think so. And I think part of the issue is what's been talked about tonight in terms of transparency. I don't know how much is going to go for the fire department, but I know they had to cancel their graduations could have very easily canceled the fire department issue. A lot of parents remember that when they go to vote. You also had an opportunity less than 2 years ago, could have brought Walmart into town. I think they said at one of the meetings they generated about $480,000 a year annually in taxes. Had to taken a big chunk out of what you're asking for right now. You need to be strategic in your thinking. I hope to see that tonight.
Excuse me, Mr. Barnett. I just state the fact that wasn't 2 years ago when Walmart came in. That was several years ago.
Before my.
Yes, it was way before my time too.
They've been trying to come back.
Yeah, they've been trying to come back. I've been trying my best. I put a Facebook, we want a Walmart here myself, so I haven't seen no movement with them. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Do we get nervous because I have a paper or not nervous because I don't have a paper? Not really sure. Amy Moore, Lemoore Chamber. So obviously, you guys know my stance. You know what our members are thinking. You know the concern that they have. Over the last 2 weeks, we've continued to hear stories from our businesses about the devastating effects of COVID. I appreciate that you guys did decide to go to a special use or a special tax. I think that does go a little bit of the way in ensuring that people understand where this money is going to. However, again, I just remind you, our businesses are suffering. And if the city is going to overcome this, I agree, marketing needs to be a big thing, but we really, really, really need to be strategic. We are going to hurt these businesses regardless. I understand it's $1 on $100 spent and blah, blah, on all of this, but it's a perception issue. We already have an insane amount of leakage of people who go to other cities to buy things. We don't need to give them another reason. In addition to that, some of our most in-need families will suffer the most because they don't have the means to go elsewhere to shop. They have to shop here. So we are hurting those in our community that need us to stand up for them the most. So again, if you do decide to move forward with this, I have a feeling that probably decisions have already been made. I hope that you will join us on this virtual mixer because at the end of the day, we're all going to need to work on this together.
Thank you.
Jesus Garcia, 984 East D Street. I'm going to piggyback a little bit on my chamber CEO about this thing. You know, I've been blessed that I have a business that flourished for the last 21 years in this community, you know, and things change. And, you know, we had to change a little bit with our wearing up down the street. Right now, our business, because, you know, not that my son came on board on our business, the two main sources of income that comes to us, two things. Number one is sports leagues. Number two is the schools. Schools and sports leagues. What has happened to those things? Everything has shut down. So for the last 3 months, you know, our business, it really went from, what I would say, you know, making a comfortable living to this much income. Now, we talked about, you know, the 1% that will go into our police department. Guys, I love these guys to death. You know, I love police department. The same thing with our fire department. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but when I first came to this community, I was actually a member of it. Now, going back to business, 1% may not seem like a whole lot, you know, but when us little guys trying to squeeze that extra $2 out of our clients, there is some resistance. We bear business, and I'll tell you what, it's been tough. And like I said, trying to squeeze, you know, those few cents out of our clients because, you know, taxes are going to go up. It's not going to be easy. While I do, you know, in a way, agree with the money, you know, if it's going to go to our essential services, I have a mixed feelings with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
How you guys doing? Chris Garcia, 170 Barcelona Drive. So that man is my father. Yes, like he has mentioned, I did come into the business last year. I bought the business July 1st. COVID hit. I'm trying to return the business. That can't happen. So really, like I said, it's really tough because I know my father's trying to inform me all this stuff because I was raised in the whole thing of, mijo, you stand out, respect the adults, let them do their thing, and do yours. Keep your head down, work hard, and you'll be successful in life. But with a lot of the changes that's been going on, guys, and a lot of things that's happening, it hurts because I'm not comfortable with it. And I think what's happening is the younger generation, I feel is losing faith in the city because we have this tax, and I love the police department. I love the fire department, guys. I'll pay the tax for the fire department in the city and the police department. Okay, that's not even, okay, you got it. But when it comes to business wise, that tax, I gotta get that tax right to the clients. I see the people, and I give discounts as much as I can, but it will hurt people in the end. And the other thing, guys, that does, it does hurt as well is that, all these essential services, but I haven't read anywhere or seen anything, a timeline on bringing back the rec and the youth department. I personally, like the COVID funding, I'd give a little bit more to the police, make sure they're safe, PPE for them, the fire department as well. But guys, as much stuff is coming in and these dispensaries come in, as much, I'm hearing all this new funding that's coming up. I mean, God, I would love to see how much money the city is going to make over the next year just from these new fundings that are possible, the dispensary taxes, and even this 1% tax. But it's hard for me to have faith when we want all this money, but we can't even promote the youth. We have to watch out for the kids. And as of right now, I don't see that. So I guess just as I do have a stepson now, and I'm starting my family. But it is hard for me to say, I do want to pay that 1%. But another part of me, guys, it's hard to pay that 1% when I don't see any of that money going to the kids, especially with all the youth sports being gone and everything now in schools. God forbid, we lost, your spring for your son. If sports still go bad for this fall season, guys, granted, how many seniors aren't going to have their senior year? But it's even worse is how many young kids will never get to that point where they can perform at that ability. Have anything for them. So just my 2 cents on that, guys. We do need to kind of put something out there for at least the younger generation to read and see that we're working for the younger youth, guys. We're working for the generations because we do have also a lot of younger parents here as well. So we want to make sure we provide for them too, guys. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello again, Jennifer Solis, 757 Redwood Lane. You may not have been able to see because I did learn that not all of the council is on Facebook. I did email them and I got a single response. I emailed you guys on Friday, so if you haven't seen that, please respond. But I did want to talk about the sales tax in that aspect because Nathan invited me to his office this morning because you guys had heard from the previous meeting that I wanted to meet with Nathan because I had a ton of, I'm constantly asking questions and wanting the facts. And he agreed to pretty much a last minute, him and Marissa threw it freaking together, a Facebook Live. And I wanted to point out that we did talk about the sales tax issue and, among the other issues. And for people that can't, get on Facebook Live, I'm sure the city, there's a computer in the front lobby that they could probably let you watch, plus it's also public if you don't have Facebook. But regarding the sales tax, I understand that there will be deciding the amount, if it does pass, deciding how the amount will be passed. My preference on that, my preference is to not pass it and, figure out the cuts and figure out the staff and do all of that. If it does get passed, yes, I would like to be part of the committee. I would also like, and I don't know if it can be in notes or how this works, but there's a current percentage that the firemen and police currently have of the budget. And so I would like that percentage to stay from the general fund and then that same, similar percentage allocated in the 1% special funding, not just the first request comes. So for example, if our general fund is that the police have 50%, then next year in 2021, I want to see the police have 50% of the general fund and then 50% the special tax as well. And then the firemen would get the opposite or whatever it is. And then once both are fully funded, yeah, if there's extra money, then go back to the general fund because maybe we don't need whatever it is we don't need. So I would like to say that. And then secondly, when we did talk about the sales tax today, I'm a fact person, and when you use numbers, you can skew things. And for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, 1% is so huge. And you've heard me talk about Hanford and all that. But I also was reminded, sales tax is not on groceries. Sales tax is on things like restaurants. So I want to give an example of, if I were to drive to Hanford at Toshiko's and it was $50, if I paid for the gas, it would be $53. Than if I went to Sunny's place here in Lemoore. And if you give them the 1% tax, it's now $50.50. So just to kind of compare, to give actual physical cost, I know it's a cost, I know we don't want it, but if it saves our city, I want to be part of the committee. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is Juvenal Leon, 990 Fox Street. I was going to address this when he says we're going to do there. One of the things that I look at when I see the city, I see alternative ways of making money. You guys just built an overpass, 19th Avenue. You have a lot of areas over there. And no offense to the individual that just finished talking about Walmart. Instead of having a Walmart, why don't we have distribution centers? You have plenty of space back there. But I can put a dot right here in Lemoore and do a 50-mile radius, and it counters a lot of area. Another thing that Olem has had problems also. Los Gatos had a problem, transportation on the rail. Los Gatos Tomato Products, when I was working over there, they got a grant through California to build a mile and a half so they can load it up there, because they were transporting all the way to corporate. Why are we not doing that? We can partner up with you have a lot of businesses out here that transport.
Address the council. That's the city manager.
You have a lot of businesses out here that basically transport out of the country. Los Gatos had actually, I think it was 10 international people that they were selling their tomato to. I'm seeing all this. Harris Ranch, 40 miles. Fresno, and when I'm talking about the Interstate 5. Mm-hmm. And Fresno, 35 miles. I-5 over here, Kettleman, 18 miles. Over here, 18 miles. What we need to do is make that double lane. Have you seen the traffic recently, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago, something happened over here. They're routing the traffic through those streets over here. And I keep asking myself, what's going on? And I know that a lot has to do with the supervisors, county supervisors, but you have alternative ways. You just need to know how to market that 19th Avenue, put distribution centers there. And I've been looking around town. There's 2 places that you can put loading docks for all these farmers that want to transport their product outside of the area.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Figured I'd give my little 2 cents since we're talking about it. As far as the 1%, I'm against the tax being raised 1%. But if it is going to be raised 1%, I'm going to say exactly how we're like what they were saying, how we're going to divvy it up, and also why are we not putting part of that 1% into the youth? And also, if we have all this money for the COVID relief, then why don't we take some of that money and invest it into health and wellness programs here in Lemoore, since that's really what's going to help us fight COVID at the end of the day, because COVID is, you know what I'm saying, it's attacking people that have health issues or that people that haven't been in the sun. 96, like they said, 96% of the people who were infected with COVID had a vitamin D deficiency from being inside. Where can our kids be outside at? What programs do we have for our kids to be outside being healthy? You know what I'm saying? It's up to us as the city to create this for the kids, create this type of atmosphere, this type of environment. So I'm just looking to you guys for support on that type of thing. But as far as the tax increase, I think with the city budget, we got more than enough money to get it taken care of. And I personally don't see enough crime here in Lemoore to where we need that much more money for the police. I appreciate everything they do, but I don't personally see it. I've lived in Fresno. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff in Lemoore. We have other things we can do to build this community up besides just giving the police officers money, in my opinion. That's my take.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I see there's none.
So you would close the public.
I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and go back to the council.
I think had some good ideas tonight. That's
absolutely.
I do want to respond to a couple of things. This is not our decision to make, whether we have a tax or not, or what the percentage is. We're going to discuss it tonight, but it's the people's decision whether or not we have a tax, not our decision. We are going to give them an opportunity, or we may, depending on the outcome of this resolution, whether or not we give the citizens an opportunity to decide whether the police department and the fire department get additional money. Now, our resources are going to go down, especially because of the virus. It's going to impact the businesses. The businesses in turn impact our general fund when they don't do sales. It's not in our best interest to raise taxes. But if we don't raise some income, the police department, according to the chief, is going to have to he's going to have to eliminate. There's 5 officers, according to him, that he's not going to be able to financially support. The pie is only so big, and we need to make the pie bigger. And one of the ideas of making the pie bigger is either get new businesses in, or come up with another tax to support those 5 officers. Now, I don't want to lay off anybody, but the goal was to keep our police services and fire services where they are as far as the level of policing and fire. One of the items that was brought up by at the public hearing was what oversight is there? Well, we're going to have according to our ordinance, we're going to have a citizens oversight committee that's going to decide where the money is going to be spent. Now, my personal choice would be to try to get people on that committee that aren't necessarily in favor of this tax and would have a lot of discretion on what they recommend to the city council as far as where that tax is going to be used. And another item I heard tonight was, do we have to have a full 1% tax increase? Which the goal was to raise 1.8 million. Now, I don't know if that's even possible. But it could be 1.4, could be 1, could be 10, depends on the economy. We don't know what the economy is going to do. So what that 1% might be 1.8. But like one of the citizens said, if we lowered it to less than 1%, it might make that more appetizing to the voter. So I'm open to that idea, and that's all I have.
You close the public hearing.
Let's close the public hearing.
You close.
So, Ms. Lerner, if we were to try and change the 1 to, let's say, a 0.74, so we take it to a 799, what would that cause as far as getting this in time to get on the ballot in November?
So we talked about timing at the last meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Technically, you have until I believe it's August 7th, the 88 days before the actual election, which is November 3rd. If you were going to change this, my recommendation would be to renotice it for another public hearing. I don't know if you have time to get it to the paper to renotice it for the next meeting in July. So you'd have to look at possibly publishing the entire ordinance, which would cost some money for the city, but it could be done, but you need to renotice this for another hearing.
Okay. While I'm going at it, back in, I want to say it was 2016, Kings County tried to pass a measure called Measure K. And it actually failed in Kings County. However, in the city of Lemoore, and I think we've talked about this in prior council meetings, I looked up the numbers, and Lemoore passed it with a 72.17% approval rating.
And that was a 1%.
And that was the same exact thing, 1%, and it was all going to public safety, i.e. police, fire, but not just in Kings County, it was good, not just in Lemoore, my apologies, but in Kings County with each organization getting a certain percentage of the pie based off of their sales tax. So I'm not 100% positive on the number, kind of like you said, Mr. Plourde, Mayor Pro Tem Plourde, sorry. But I do think that it's in our best interest to allow the people of Lemoore to make that choice. If they say no, then they say no. But I think it's an injustice to everybody in the city to not allow people to have that choice. If you don't want it, awesome. Go vote and say no. If you want it, awesome. Go vote and say yes. That's one of the great things about living in this world or in this country that we live in. We get to make that choice as a group and not as some type of a dictatorship type thing. So again, go out and vote. And I think, I know how I'm going. I think that we're going to get this initiative on a ballot. How it's going to be worded exactly might need a little bit more discussion, but I think the ballot's going to be put on there and let you, the voting people of Lemoore, have the final say. And I think that's fair. Just saying.
Yeah, I agree with both of you, everything that you've said so far. The one thing that was mentioned that I would like to touch on was someone mentioned the youth and the rec. I don't think the special tax, I don't think we can use special tax money for youth and rec, can we?
No.
So,
If we made one just for,
Not as written, no.
yeah. So I just, that was an asked question, and I just wanted to touch on that. Even though I would like to, because I'd like to see the kids have stuff to do too.
absolutely. And I said that the last council meeting that every extra dollar that we have, I would like, if we have the cannabis come in higher or even at expectations, we should have extra revenue. And that needs to go back into Parks and Rec to ensure the youth of this town that there's something for them to do instead of going out and making maybe sometimes great decisions, maybe sometimes not so great decisions.
Yeah.
But we've got to give them an option to make that good decision because there's way too many of the alternatives that aren't good out there for them.
And I'm pretty sure that, if this sales tax were to pass and we were to get a little bit more financially sound, Mr. Olson, correct me if I'm wrong, that'd be one of the first things that would come back that we have suspended as of right now. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured.
Well, and right now with COVID, I don't think we could have many.
Well, yeah, until the COVID situation gets better too.
And council, you always have the ability to reduce it. You just can't increase it without it going back to the voters.
Okay. That's good to know.
And so, do you want to stick with the 1%?
I do. I don't want to ask for less and have it not fill the gap that we're needing filled. I mean, if you need $100 and you ask for 50, what good did the 50 do? You have to go ask someone else for the $50 or let go of 2 cops versus 5 cops. I'd rather just stay where we're at. And I just don't want the people to think that we haven't discussed this. This has been a lot of discussion. I'm not trying to be rude by saying this, but I feel like I'm not doing my part if I don't say exactly what's on my mind sometimes. If we would ask for 1/4%, people would still be sitting here saying, no, we don't want to do 1/4. But the fact that I don't think it almost doesn't matter what the number is. People that don't want to pay tax, I don't want to pay tax. Heck, I don't even want to impose this on my parents, my grandparents, everybody, my whole family was in town. But now that I'm sitting where I am, I know the truth. And You know, our city makes less every year, and it costs more money to run the city every year. And the further and further that gap gets, we have to do something to offset it. And don't get me wrong, we're trying. You know, we're trying to think outside the box. Someone came up here and said, well, you guys have to do everything you can to make sure that this town is making money. Well, I'm here to tell you, we're about as far outside the box as we can get. Because when I was first asked, hey, what do you think about having a dispensary in town? My answer was not no, hell no. And I was asked, are you making that decision from a personal bias, or are you making that from an educated position? Well, yeah, I had to eat crow. I was on a biased position. And when I went and educated myself, I was wrong. I found out real quick that I was wrong. What I thought was not the case. And I am now for our cannabis dispensaries. And I'm telling you that I feel bad for people that think that it was sold on the fact that this is going to be the savior. I never said that. I never thought that. But I did hope that it might be a spark that starts a fire. And, well, I tell you what, as a firefighter, I hate saying that. That's where I'm at. I'm done. I'm sorry. I got a little long. But yes, I'm for the full 1% special sales tax.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a marketing guy. And I can understand the justification. Obviously, there's got to be a whole lot of research and development about the 99 cent or the 95 cent marker, because that's what everybody does.
I get it.
And so there's got to be some psyche to that. But I think that, I don't know, I think kind of like you, if people are going to say, no, it's not just going to be because it's one, it's because it's an increase.
Yeah, and to stay transparent, you know, we don't need 0.5%. I hate to say this. We need the 1. That's what we need. We're being transparent and telling you, this is what we need. I'm sorry that we need it. I'm sorry that, you know, I've only been sitting here for what feels like 20 years, but it's only been maybe 20 months. And yeah, it's apparent. I love this town, obviously. I've been in the fire department for 18 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm done again.
Okay.
Once again.
I have a question. How much does RPD get out of our general fund? What percentage?
It's more than 50%.
Is it more than 60?
Let's see, our budgets this year's.
I think it's like almost 8 out of 13.
7 something out of the 13. Sorry, waiting for it to start up.
I think somebody told me almost 70%. I don't want to quote that quite right, but let me see if that's what it is.
Seconds.
Thanks for keep messing with it. I was gonna wear my bandana, but it looked like I was sticking the place up or something.
Come on, guys, let's keep it down.
Wish I had my mouse.
Michelle's responding to the question. She doesn't know. She says it's approximately 7 million of the 13.4 million.
So it's just under 50%.
Over.
Just over 50. So it's 7 million of the 13.4 million. of the budget goes to PD. And then another 600,000 to fire.
Okay.
So 7.6 million of 13.4 million is public safety.
Okay. Thank you.
Is police.
It's police.
And fire. There's another 600 for fire.
600 for fire. Okay. And when was the last time they have got a raise? Because every time they asked for one, they got one.
No.
No, so
When was it? Okay. When I was back here, and when they asked for a raise, I remember the officers getting a raise. Now, what part?
the last time that the city received any type of a raise or COLA was back, and I think it was 16, and 8% was given across the board as a result of the class and compensation study. And that's been it, other than the like the 5% they get for years of, every anniversary you get a 5% increase, which we froze this year as part of the budget. And
when did we deny? When did we deny them? Because I heard somebody say they never they never got a raise. When did we ever deny them for a raise? Every time they asked for a raise, did they get a raise?
Well,
as part of the collective bargaining unit, do you mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, they have not gotten the raise
You
they've
just said
wanted
they
every
did.
time. They have had some increases, but not to the magnitude of what they were asking at all times. It's a negotiation between the city and the bargaining units that comes to council for approval. So there's a lot of different things. This year, council got creative, and Michelle and the group got creative during the negotiations because we couldn't give them money, so we gave a couple extra days, like floating holiday, to take off. So we did things like that.
What year was that?
It was this past year that we just did. Yeah, there was no increases given. I think a couple of the special
before that.
I think a couple of the specialty pays might have gone up like 0.5%, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think the mayor was absent during that meeting when we passed those MOUs, so that's why he doesn't know.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Forgot about that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
But they didn't get any, percentage increase in their base pay. It was
this year.
It was kind of like in-kind pay.
Okay. It's one thing having a safe haven, is another thing about having it transparent and hearing the public views and what the public have to say about things as well. And hearing the public and hearing the business owners that have been here and struggling. I'm hearing both sides. And this is going to be a hard one for me as well. Do you want me to open it to the public?
No, you already opened the public hearing and closed the public hearing. So now if council would like to move forward, it would just need, however council wants to move forward, it would require a motion.
All right, well,
I'll go ahead and make a motion then.
Okay.
So that we have a clear record, since this is a public hearing item, is the motion to introduce and waive the first reading of ordinance number 2020-07 and to approve resolution 2020-23.
I'm all in favor of giving the citizens an opportunity to vote on this issue. And so that's what this is about, giving the citizens an opportunity. And so I move we approve ordinance 2020-07, waive the first reading of in its entirety, and set for second hearing on the next regular city council meeting.
Agreed. Second.
Does that also include the resolution to go to the city clerk, Mayor Pro Tem?
That's not part of the staff report, but I will add it. Agree?
Second.
Okay.
I got a motion by Mr. Pruitt, second by Mr. Lyons. Mr. Pruitt?
Aye.
Mr. Lyons?
Aye.
Mr. Scoldy?
Aye.
I vote no.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Okay, going on to new business, section 5-1, reporting recommendations of intentions of levy and collect the annual assessment within landscape and lighting maintenance district number 1 LLMD, Zone 1 through 13, Resolution 2020/24, and Public Maintenance Facilities, Maintenance District number 1, PFMD, Zone 1 through 10, Resolution 2020/25. Rivera? Oh, you don't look like Rivera.
I am not. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. I am before you tonight, not right. The item I bring before you tonight is the annual assessment reports for the LLMDs and PFMDs. The city hires a consultant to create these reports each year to calculate the needed assessments for the LLMDs and PFMDs. This is the first step. Next week, we will conduct, if this is approved tonight, we will conduct a public hearing, and following the public hearing, you would adopt the assessments if you want it. So to briefly go over the assessments, the LLMDs, the Lighting and Landscape Maintenance Districts, have all remained the same with the exceptions of zones 8A and 8B, which have increased a few dollars to cover the inflation adjustments. All the others are currently at their max assessment. Set years ago, there was no inflator built in on those zones. The PFMDs increased on an average of about $36 a year, and that's to cover inflation adjustments on annual maintenance and future rehab. Most are nowhere near their maximum assessments. For the ones with the healthy reserves, we are pulling dollar amounts to do some CIP projects. We had slated to do those this year, but due to COVID, we kind of had to postpone some of those planting of new trees and things as staffing was limited. We will be coming back with budget amendments following if these new assessments are adopted to coincide our budget this year with the levies. Any questions?
A bunch of them.
No. And I don't have the consultant here tonight, just so you know, so. Hopefully.
Council, you guys want to expound on any of this?
Okay, well, where do I start? Okay, so if we go to your staff report, are you ready? On page, I guess I'd be on the second page of your staff report, 5-1. Got it?
Yes.
Okay. This would be at the last sentence, it says, listed below are the proposed public facility TMFD assessments for fiscal year 2019-20.
You caught my typo, yes, sir.
You tested me there?
Yes, good,
Okay.
you passed. That is
With the
supposed to be-
assessment for fiscal year 2020 and 19, right?
Yes, that is
So-
supposed to be fiscal year 2021 with the 2019-2020 for comparison.
Okay, so now I have a long search for answers. Let's go to Zone 2 of the PMFD, District 1, which is Liberty. It's 2019, 2021. Zone 2 shows an increase of $30.26.
Correct.
Okay, so go to the next paragraph, financial considerations, and that should be for fiscal year 2020, right?
So the financial considerations are based off of the adopted budget. The adopted budget is based off of last year's assessments because that was what we had at the time. So
Okay.
when we adopt the new assessments, we will come back with a budget amendment to modify these to match the current year assessment.
Okay, let's go down to Zone 2 of the PMFD, and it shows a balance of 1.5 million, basically.
Yes.
Let's go to page 8, or in your agenda packet, it'll be 163. Sometimes this thing is not as fast as my mind thinks. So I'm going all the way past the LM. I'm going all the way to the PF.
The actual report?
Yeah.
163. Zone benefit.
I just have to get there. Okay. It lists On page 8 of the report, Zone 2 Liberty comprised of 242 single-family residential parcels with 7 exempt. Put my video amplifier.
Mine says 11 exempt.
Lettered lots within track 281 or
821.
Okay. Now let's go on to page 10, 2 pages down, and it talks about the properties within Zone 2 proportionally shared to receive special benefits with maintenance services and operations of. So this is everything that we are going to basically maintain, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it lists square feet, distances, 93 street lights, etc. So let's go on to page 185 of the staff report, or page 30 of the document. I'm getting to my point. I'm just, working.
I have an idea of where you're going.
And we get on Zone 2, which is the middle column on the right, PMFD Zone 2, Liberty Trek 821, and the first 2 blue sections are annual operating and maintenance expenses and rehabilitation, renovation, funding, and capital expenditures, and roughly, $300,000 for rehabilitation. But at the bottom, the balance for 2021 will be 1.3 million. So we were 1.5 million, and at the end of next year, we'll be at 1.3 million. So my question is, I know you all have been waiting for it. I can't find anything in the report what we're going to use the capital expenditures on. If you get $300,000 that we're going to use for, I would think it would be listed someplace that I could find, and I couldn't find it. Total planned capital expenditures, $250,000. That's a pretty good number.
Yes, so that would be coming back with the budget. So when he builds these budgets and these reports, these are the budgets for his assessments. It's not necessarily our budgets, and these are based off of industry standards for calculating fees and levies. So we will take these numbers and we will use these assessments to create our budget. So that is what we will be coming back to you line item detail with next meeting, but we do have projects slated. We would like to convert sprinkler systems to drips. We have sidewalk repairs that need to be done. We have concrete that needs to be replaced, trees that needs to be.
You got $250,000 that you're going to ask us to approve, and that's just one zone. So I have no problem. I just had no idea what you had planned to use it for, and we won't know what you're planning on using it for until you give us the capital improvement.
Sounds like it.
So this is just to ask us for permission to do a budget for that.
This
CIP, basically?
No, this you would have to adopt in order to do the assessments. And so you would do the adoption of the intent this meeting, you would have the public hearing next meeting, and then they would go to the Kings County assessors to actually be levied.
So in Zone 2, it's basically going up $30 from last year.
Correct.
That's all I have.
And would this be in-house or like would the city be doing the work, or are you going to farm it out?
Contract.
The
Contract it out?
PFMDs are contracts, yes.
Okay.
I do read these things. So
Good, I'm glad.
And I'm sure it goes without saying, we would use local contractors.
Large enough jobs we bid out. Anyone's able to bid, but preference is when they're smaller jobs, we try to stay local if possible.
Also at the, back to the staff report, we have some that are going down a couple of $100.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, I don't live there.
Just so you know, for PFMD Zone 2 particularly, we are decreasing their overall reserve to 1.3 million. We don't want to dip too much further than that because it is a fairly large zone and that money is to cover road repair in the future, and that can be quite costly. So you need to keep somewhat of a healthy reserve there for those things in the future.
Well, I looked at the document and I thought it had some questions, but I think they were answered.
There's a few that are exempt. We were talking about that earlier, the parcels that are exempt.
I believe those are parcels that are just land, like the city will own some parcels that will be for like a lift
park or something?
station.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's not a home attached to it or anything.
That's what I figured it was. All right, thank you.
Anybody else from the council? We'll go ahead and open it to the public. Anybody from the public on this panel on this?
Jennifer Solis again, 757 Redwood Lane. Someone had mentioned about, just being aware and communicating perceptions, and I realized I didn't tell you guys why I have my sunglasses on. So because of my health issues, I know that the mask will cover, my mouth and nose to protect you, but if my nose and eyes were covered, it protects me. So I apologize if it appears disrespectful. Just trying to stay protected so I can be here for 100 more meetings to bug you guys. Anyways, today, like I had said before, we did a Facebook Live with Nathan and Marissa. Kudos again. The LLMD and PFMD, we kind of broke that down a little bit. And so if I can break that down here from a resident standpoint, because Stuart had a great point that when you're a resident, sometimes you don't understand until you get, and he used the word educated, and I like that, until you dive in and get involved. And I was just so impressed with how much our community got involved with the Facebook Live. So we are looking forward to doing that again on July 20th at 4:30. So with that in mind, when I've heard you guys talk in the past about LLMDs and PFMDs, it goes right over my head because I don't understand. I don't even understand what those means. It's acronyms that are city related where the average resident doesn't know. So to break it down, LLMDs cover, and correct me if I'm wrong, utilities,
Lighting.
and they were instituted or put in for the amount when the division was developed, essentially. So my division is an LLMD. My house was built in 1978. Costs have gone up. My property taxes have not gone up. And then when you look at PFMDs, they're the opposite of that, where it was decided when it was built, but then they have an inflation that goes up kind of with them, and it includes roads. So as a resident, I fully understand when residents are pissed and saying, the city has ignored my comment. They've taken a year to fix the road. I have had that same gripe, and I basically want to apologize and say that I'm embarrassed as a resident, because if you're telling me you need $30 for a zone of hundreds of houses, and we could each give you $3 to not have to have these discussions, to not have to have it go out of the general fund, to not have to compare it to police officers and safety, take my money. I realize you have to do that with a presentation. I realize it has gone out to the residents and it has failed. So I would like that potentially discussed to be brought back again. The reason I want it brought back is because now I understand the city doesn't actually own those places. The district does. The district handles the cost. And so if the district isn't going to step up, we're literally tying your hands, and you're doing the best you can. And then you put Ray and his team out there, and they are literally prioritizing, going, okay, utilities, you can't not water it. Maintenance, then repairs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Soledad Perez, 992 Fallen Leaf Drive. I live in Zone 2, and let me tell you, I love my neighborhood. It's nice and clean, and I love it that way. So we know we're paying for the repairs and lights and et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to make it too long, but do residents like myself, do we have a saying in, the cost going up? I know it's $30, but again, we have over $1.5 million in the account. I don't see any trees. I don't see anything wrong with any of the trees. I go down my neighborhood every day. I don't see any trees that need to be replaced. There might be some sidewalks that might need replaced, but again, do we have a saying in, in basically the amount going up?
Do you want me to answer that?
You asking the question?
Yeah, yes, I am.
Anybody want to expound on
Yeah.
I know it's gonna come back next week, I think, she said.
Well,
or-
the capital improvements or capital expenditures are going to come out in a future meeting. That basically $250,000 is what they're asking for. Like I said earlier, in your zone, it was 1.5, the balance from last year. And at the end of next year, well, at the current fiscal year, it's going to be 1.3. So that future money is going to be needed for, as a balance for future street repairs or whatever. The city manager wants to expand on it.
Yeah, so the PFMDs cover road repairs as well, so you can do crack seal grindings, top coats, things of that nature. The assessment before you tonight that recommends 30 is just based on best practices in the industry. Council always has the option to lower that. They can't raise it. They can't go beyond what the engineer's estimate is saying. That
So
30 bucks.
so that's how you got the 30, was an engineer's
Yeah,
estimate?
that's the engineer's estimate. That's an outside vendor that does that. The city doesn't, we actually pay, the zone pays to have that assessment done annually. It's a requirement by law. So tonight, it's up to, or we just have to decide, do you agree with the engineer's report? So that's $30 a year that it's going up. And then this is the same zone, and I think Zone 2 looks great, personally. But this is like Mr. Melvin Gordon, he was pretty upset because he said he had some dead bushes and stuff like that. That's in the same zone. So different parts of the zone do need some maintenance, but right now we're not replanting anything because it's just the wrong time of year to plant shrubs. So we'll go through this when we come back with the assessment, and if it all goes through and gets levied, and then council approves the budget, we do intend to do some replantings where we need, fix sidewalks that are buckled from trees and things of that nature, because the PFMDs do allow for those expenses.
So do the people living in that particular LLMD, PFMD, do they have the right to make recommendations on what that capital dollars are being spent on, or is that completely up to
the engineer?
So it's been up to, well, all the improvements, it's kind of between the engineer, but like Ray from the city, Ray Greenlee, and he kind of knows what needs work, what doesn't need work. Like they know what timers are bad or outdated and what sprinkler systems maybe. And Amanda had mentioned they're going to get away from some sprinklers to drip to save on water and become more efficient. So things like that cost money. Residents absolutely can have input in what we do. All they have to do is let us know what they'd like to see. Like Mr. Gordon was a prime example. He wasn't happy that his street light wasn't replaced, and he wasn't happy with some of the dead bushes. And we have met with him, and it is on the list. Unfortunately, we can't turn requests in 24 hours. At the time of the last meeting, the light pole had actually been poured in the ground, but our code and the requirement on our engineering standards is that pole has to cure for 28 days. So we were about 20 days into the 28-day curing process, but that light did go up the following week. So those are the things, but you can, looking at the balance on that, I'd have to look at the long-term street repairs and when we're doing a grinding versus just a crack fill and stuff like that. But that's why the PFMDs carry a larger balance, and that's a huge zone. Zone 2 is pretty big. It's got a lot of concrete walls around it that kids paint on, and every now and again we got to maintain that stuff. So.
And I know my time is up, but like I said, I chose to live there. I love my neighborhood, nice and clean, beautiful. So if it has to get paid, it has to get paid. But I would like to see if maybe you guys can look into it and see what else we can do. Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else from the public? Bring it back to the council. Council wanted
Well, we have experts that provide advice to us, and I know that the citizens are the ones that are paying the extra money and some people are paying less, some people are paying more, but it's based on an engineering study, and there's all sorts of acronyms within this report that got me a little confused, and mathematic formulas, and I was pretty good at math in school, and the numbers seemed to add up. The only question I had was, what was the money going towards? And I won't know that until a future meeting. This is, so I'm going to go ahead and, go along with the engineer and let's listen to what the council has to say. And if none, I'll make a motion that we approve the engineer's report and adopt resolution 2020-24 and 2020-25.
Got a motion by Mr.
I'll
Fluid.
second that.
Got a second by Mr. Scody. Mr. Fluid?
Aye.
Mr. Scody?
Aye.
Mr. Lyons?
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries, passes.
Thank you.
All right, going down to last two. Report and recommendations, second reading, ordinance 2020/05, approving zoning map amendment number 2020/02, and ordinance 2020/06, approving planning unit development number 2020/01. Ms. Hallwell. Oh, you don't like Ms. Hallwell?
I'm not either. Nope.
No, you look different.
We're throwing you a lot of curveballs tonight. I am Steve Brandt, Lemoore City Planner. This item, as you read, is a request by Lennar Homes to build 362 homes at the site on the west side. As a reminder, the council had this on their agenda 2 times before. The first time was in June 2nd, where after holding a public hearing, the council approved the CEQA environmental document and the 5 parts to the project. 2 of those parts are ordinances, and so they needed to come back for a second reading, and that second reading was put on the agenda for June 16th. At the June 16th meeting, no action was taken by the council. So what that means is the project at the moment is in limbo. So it's partially approved, but it's not fully approved, and it's also not denied. So state law requires that when a residential application is submitted to the city, we have to take an action either to approve or deny it. And there are time limits to that. So that is why we're bringing this back to you again. The staff recommendation remains the same, and it is based on the studies and plans that have already been in place and already been put into place, specifically being the Lemoore General Plan, which was adopted in 2008 and says that residential development is planned for this site, and also the Joint Land Use Study, or JLUS, which was written in 2011, which says that residential development is a compatible use at this site. There were recommended conditions in the JLUS that were meant to be placed on projects such as this when they're brought forward, and those conditions were put into the conditions of approval for this project. Just of note, this is the third project that has been proposed, third residential project that has been proposed on the west side since the site was annexed. The other 2 projects were also approved. And the reminder that the Planning Commission held a public hearing in May and recommended approval of the project. So you have a choice, and so I just want to lay out what would need to happen depending on which way you want to go on the project. So if you want to deny the project, you need to vote to deny the second reading of the zone map amendment and the PUD, which are before you tonight, and also to direct staff to bring back the other parts of the project that you approved on June 2nd, so we can have another public hearing to rescind those approvals and to formally deny the entire project. If you want to approve the project, then you could vote tonight to adopt the second reading of both ordinances, and then at that point, the project would be fully approved. So I just want to make sure you're clear on the options of what you have. That's the end of my presentation. I know that the project has, there's a lot of smaller issues in the project. We did have a public hearing that was opened and closed. But if you have any questions about the specifics of the project, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yes. First of all, I want to give Kings County the benefit of the doubt. If I may have, Mr. City Manager, can you read the letter that they gave you to the public?
While you're looking for that, I have a question that I could ask him. Do you want me to? So I do have a question. A lot of people were asking me, and could you explain exactly what the JLUS is?
Yeah, I'll in summary, the JLUS is an acronym that stands for Joint Land Use Study. So what happened in 2011 was the Navy commissioned a study of the land to look at the land uses around the base, 360 degrees around the base. And so there were a number of jurisdictions that were participated in and were affected by that study. So Kings County, Fresno County, Avenal, and Lemoore. So that was a study that then made recommendations, and the recommendations that applied to Lemoore, then the city council at the time looked at those recommendations, and Judy, correct me if I'm wrong, there were 17 recommendations?
21 recommendations, and the city adopted recommendations 1 through 11 and 15 through 19. There were 5 recommendations that weren't.
So out of 21 recommendations, there were 16 that were adopted by the city and 5 that were not.
And the Naval Air Station was a part of the JLUS as well?
Yes, they commissioned the study.
Okay.
And you said that this is the third development? Did you say
This
something?
is the third time someone has proposed a development project on the west side. The other 2 projects were approved.
Okay. Do you, off the top of your head, do you know when those were approved? Just
First one was approved in 2006, and the second one was 2017.
Okay, so one was pre-J Luz and one was post. General plan?
Previous general plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how big are those developments? Do you, just around?
The first one was about 300 units, but since then, the developer has reduced the project and actually what gave the site, Judy can maybe explain it more how that happened.
So the first project that was in 2006, that was, we refer to that project as Victory Village, and it's out just north of West Hills College. And it was west of West Hills College. There were a total of 279 homes approved. Later on, we've talked about the REPI program before, and I can get into that more later if you want me to, but it's the Navy or the military has a program available with funds available to protect the area around the base. Well, at that time, they, I don't remember when it was, when they did the REPI program. Anyway, the military worked with the project developer and basically bought out 228 of those housing units. All of the units that were west of Marsh Drive. Marsh Drive is immediately west of West Hills College. So there's the middle
West
school,
Road.
and the charter elementary school. All of that is part of the West Hills College Square that's out there. And so everything west of Marsh Drive then was eliminated. So there are still 51 housing units that are, there's a vested map, and those homes are available to be built as soon as the developer finds a housing builder to build those. And things have happened in the meantime, why it hasn't developed, and the housing crisis in 2007 and things, we've had people looking at that site, so it might come forward in the future. And then the other one, which was Granville Homes, that one was in 2017, and that was a total of 141 multifamily apartment complex, 141 units.
And
Those were
located,
like duplexes and triplexes.
located,
Those were also north of West Hills College, east of the water tank that's out there.
okay.
So north of Bush Street,
Mhm.
east of the water tank.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You have it?
I do have it.
All right.
Okay, so the reason I didn't get it is they had my last name misspelled, so it didn't come to my, it didn't go to my email because they spelled EN instead of ON, but it was just forwarded to me. So this is a letter dated July 7th, 2020. It was sent via electronic mail to Mr. Roman Benitez, Lemoore Naval Air Station, Nathan Olson, City Manager, City of Lemoore.
Who sent it?
And it was sent to Bill Walls, Lennar, and it was written by, or signed by Doug Verboon, Chairman, Board of Supervisors.
Okay.
So,
And that's in his area where that is, right?
no, that is, he's the chair of the board, but I believe that
Okay.
is Supervisor Nev's district.
That's Nez?
Yep.
Over there? Okay.
So proposal in our residential development, plan unit development 2020-01. Gentlemen, I am writing on behalf of the Board of Supervisors for the County of Kings, the county, regarding the proposed development referenced above. It has been brought to our attention that the city of Lemoore, the city's considered approval of this project is creating some discord with the Lemoore Naval Air Station, which is concerned that the community, once built, might act to oppose the base to the detriment of LNAS, the city, and the county. The county believes that this controversy can and should be worked out in a cooperative manner for the benefits of all concerned. It should go without saying that the county supports the ongoing viability of LNAS and its contributions to the economic stability of our region and to our national security. Given its principal mission to train, man, and equip the nation's West Coast strike fighter squadrons, the base employs over 7,000 active duty military personnel and approximately 2,500 civilians, resulting in a regional economic impact of over $1 billion. The county also recognizes that LNAS's, went down far, skipped a page. The county also recognizes that LNAS's projected growth is driving a boom in the local housing market. The Navy projected in 2016 that it intended to increase military personnel at the base by more than 3,000 by 2025. As a consequence, many residential developers began scoping housing projects in the city and in the region to accommodate the growth, as well as expanding housing availability throughout the region. Lennar Homes, Lennar Homes is one of those developers and has proposed a 362 single-family homes community that is consistent with state mandates to increasing housing density and affordability. If approved, the proposed community would be constructed approximately 1.5 miles from the LNAS Green Zone that was recently established cooperatively as part of the Joint Land Use Study System, and which would be approximately 4.5 miles from the base and airstrip directly due east of the West Hills Community College campus. It is clear that the project is far enough away from the base that it will not interfere with base operations. However, consistent with prior experiences, LNAS is concerned that because the community would be under the flight path for jets approaching the base for landing, it might be just a matter of time before the community opposition could threaten the base's location and existence. There are ways that these concerns can be addressed cooperatively to everyone's satisfaction. One example One example might be home construction requirements that ensures the windows and doors in the new homes are soundproof to the greatest extent possible. Another might be to require covenants that run with the land, requiring all new purchasers to acknowledge and accept the conditions of the property as located near LNAS base. We are confident there are many other possible solutions to these concerns if all three parties, LNAS, Lennar, and the city, come together to solve them cooperatively. A cooperative solution benefits the base as it provides affordable housing to the thousands of military personnel who choose to live off base. It benefits Lennar because it allows them to proceed with development of a valued regional property, and it benefits the city by allowing the emergence of a contributing community where the land might otherwise be left fallow. The county encourages all three entities to come together to solve these issues as a means to a mutually beneficial end. Please let me know if there is anything the county can do to assist with this resolution. Sincerely, Doug Verboon, Chairman, Board of Supervisors.
Thank you. I'm going to
Open it up for public
open it to the
comment.
public.
I think that each member of the public should have 3 minutes and only one bite of the apple.
Absolutely.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I received 2 letters to be read into the record. So the first one reads from Kristen Clark, West Hills College, and it reads regarding Ordinance 2020-05 zoning map amendment number 2020-02 and Ordinance 2020-06 approving planned unit development number 2020-01. Dear members of the Lemoore City Council, the West Hills Community College District has an 87-year history of serving students in the Central Valley. We have an efficient, innovative practices that promote student success and completion, which are critical to the economic development of Kings County, and in particular, the city of Lemoore. We have aggressively embraced the needs of our community and have implemented practices to increase student success and decrease time to completion, which is key strategy to build a skilled workforce in our region. I was disappointed to hear that at the June 16, 2020 City Council meeting, there was no motion to approve the subdivision of the planned housing development project listed above. The West Hills Community College District has long supported the city's 2030 general plan, which includes a combination of low-density single family, low medium density residential, and medium density multifamily housing near the college, off Bush and College. In fact, when West Hills College Lemoore was built, the district expanded the infrastructure beyond what was necessary in preparation for future development. My hope is that the council will stick with its 2030 general plan, which specifically designates residential housing around the college. Additional rooftops bring additional revenue to the city, and developing west of 41 establishes a more noticeable footprint from both the 41 and 198, giving more prominence to the city of Lemoore. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions, 559-925-3200. Thank you. Kristen Clark, President of West Hills College, Lemoore. The second one I received was from Stuart Van Horn, the Chancellor over at West Hills. And it reads, Dear Marissa, I am writing to ask you that you convey my extreme disappointment to Lemoore City Council members for their collective failure to take any action to support the proposed Lennar project near West Hills College, Lemoore. The lack of action sends a continuing clear message of the council's collective inability, again, to embrace economic development to grow our city. Of more concern is the continuing message that the council has not realized that major economic drivers of the city, specifically Lemoore Naval Air Station and West Hills College, can work together. It is extremely frustrating that every attempt is thwarted to allow us to seek common ground with Lemoore NAS. Something that I am confident we can do if permitted. It appears to me that the council supports only those voices from NAS. As we have said many times, West Hills College was purposely designed and built to ensure our infrastructure can accommodate retail and residential development on the west side of the highway. As importantly, our curriculum has been specifically designed to support workforce training options for area employers and residents. Additional rooftops are essential for us to continue to mature college offerings that prepare our residents for 21st century employment. Our master plan, as well as yours, is interconnected and based on the expectation that enrollment will grow as a result of residential development. I urge the council to act on this project. Thank you. Sincerely, Stuart Van Horn, Chancellor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Captain Doug Peterson, Commanding Officer, Naval Air Station Lemoore. Well, these ordinances before us, the Lenore ordinances, I'll call them in total, are the subject matter I'd wish to speak on. The Navy wishes to reiterate its concerns about this potential development, which we believe will lead to encroachment to mission, is incompatible development, subject individuals to high aircraft noise, and expose our aircrew and future Lemoore residents to unnecessary health and safety risks. We have previously submitted numerous matters for the record outlining our concerns. My purpose for appearing today, however, is to reiterate our strong desire to work collaboratively with the City of Lemoore to reanalyze this land and the stated goals of the council in an attempt to find ways to cooperatively identify a path forward that is compatible for all. We endeavor at every level to be good neighbors and to support Lemoore's smart growth initiative through economic contributions and strategic partnerships. The Navy and I stand ready to continue to foster and strengthen community partnerships that support both the community and Naval Air Station Lemoore's mission. Our mission mandates are equally important and with the right approach can be mutually achieved between the two of us. We recognize and value the strategic importance of our relationship and desire to foster and strengthen collaborative community cooperation. We'll continue to strive at every level to be good neighbors and support the City of Lemoore through its economic contributions and our strategic partnerships. As you're aware, members of my team and members of your staff have identified several projects that can be nominated for the Defense Capital Improvement Program. We, the Navy, stand ready to continue seeking partnerships that support the community and the Naval Air Station's mission. We'd like to approach the issue of this development project in the same vein, to collaboratively work together, or really, to quote the Chamber of Council President, at the end of the day, we're all going to have to work on this together. And that's what we want to do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Roman Benitez, Community Plans Liaison Officer for Naval Air Station Lemoore at 700 Avenger Avenue, Lemoore, California. So I'll just start off by saying that at no time has NAS Lemoore concurred with residential development underneath a pre-existing low-level flight corridor. The reason I'm speaking today is because I need to clarify a couple of things about this joint land use study that we keep missing the point. So first of all, I will say that the joint land use study is not a Navy study. This was a partnership between the City of Lemoore, Kings County, and Fresno County. And the Naval Air Station was served in an advisory position. And the reason we had this study funded through the Office of Economic Adjustment was so that we can avoid what we're doing now. So that we can find a solution to compatible development on the west side. And so we missed the mark. And yes, the city adopted some of the recommendations, but they missed the mark because we didn't look at that small area study that the JLU specifically said, hey, let's look at this so we can fix the problem. Instead, we are increasing the problem. There was a mention about the REPI program. It's a phenomenal program. And we were successful with that program. We were able to partner with West Hills College, the developer, Victory Village, and we were able to mitigate about 246 homes underneath our low-level flight corridor. So yeah, that REPI program is a great project. It's a great opportunity to look at. And then the last thing that I want to leave the City Council with is that as the skipper mentioned, this is an opportunity to partner up and fix this problem once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening, Mayor Neal, council members. My name is Matt Bukowski. I work with Lennar. Lennar wants to come in and build homes, the Lemoore. I've heard a lot of discussion tonight about tax revenues and bringing businesses. This gentleman talked about retail and bringing commercial. We need rooftops to do that. We need housing to do that. So I appreciate you hearing all sides, the Navy, the college, staff recommendations, Lennar, the county as well. And I know the Navy has expressed some safety concerns. It's going to be loud. Jets are going to fly over. I think everyone at Lemoore has become kind of accustomed to that. Anyone in the valley is accustomed to that. And so what I think that it's important to reiterate, though, is that development has already been approved. It's already underway west of 41. The college has been built out, which also includes a high school and an elementary school, and as well other developments that have been approved in that area. And it's somewhat disingenuous to say that that existing development is any more safe than new development. And so, I think that what we have here is a great opportunity for the city to bring in necessary affordable housing and also consistent with the general plan. I'm glad that they read the county's letter into the record, because I think it was very telling, and the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, I think, put it very clearly that this project is far enough away from the base that it will not interfere with base operations, and that they support this. And so we would like to bring businesses, bring rooftops, help stimulate the local economy, build a great product in an area that's been set for development, part of this council's vision that has been existing since 2008. So we, Lennar, request that the council adopt the second reading of both ordinances. Thank you.
Gentlemen, good evening. Jeff Levinson, 1350 Lincoln Lane. I've lived in this community for 42 years, and I've served as the trustee for West Hills Community College for 35 years. And I believe everybody's entitled to their opinion. The problem is they're not entitled to their own facts. And let me just give you a few of the facts that talk about why West Hills is so important to our community. When I got here in 1978, West Hills College was located where the pet store is at the corner of E Street and Fox. Over time, and with great leadership, not necessarily at the trustee level, but from our presidents, we moved on to Cinnamon. Then in 2002, actually prior to that, we passed a bond. This community passed a bond. And this community said we wanted a college. And so that's what we built. And when we took all the players into consideration, we took the Navy into consideration. They were part of the process, because the whole concept was we were going to move a college out west of 41. And in that process, we were also going to put homes. That was always part of the plan. That was the plan when we confirmed the bond measure. So that's what we did. 2001, 2002, we opened up. 2000, my dates may be a little wrong. 2008, we started adding Golden Eagle Arena. We added the Child Development Center. We added the Student Center about 4 or 5 years ago. And we'll be adding more as we speak. Unfortunately, COVID has made our lives a little tough. And in that regard, our lives as a trustee, on the 16th, you guys didn't make a decision on this issue. On the 23rd, we as a board met and we made a decision to lay off 115 employees. There can't be any more tough decision than that. But we made the decision, we took the action to take care of our district. It's called fiduciary duty. And in my book, I'm looking at you as a group to do your fiduciary duty, and that is, we need rooftops to be available to our college so that we can continue to grow, notwithstanding all the other issues we are facing right now. So my request as one public official, again, 35 years as a trustee, over 500 meetings, I'm asking you to do what you need to do to approve this project, to move us forward so we can, number one,
Thank you.
college.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mhm. Anyone else?
As I look around the room, I don't mean to include you in this group, John, but I think you, myself, Mr. Levinson, maybe 2 or 3 other people in the audience, were in some of those meetings in the early 200s and late 1996, 97. It was a Navy study. It came from the Defense Department. It was offered by the commanding officer at the base, who saw that we needed to get everybody together. We met in this very room, right here. We moved everything aside, put a big square table in the room. A couple of times we met to solve these issues. Trustee Levinson talked about our site on Cinnamon Avenue. You know, we lived with the sound of the jets in temporary buildings. And what we did then, both students and faculty, when it got a little noise, we just stopped until they passed. And then we started again. But the acoustics, and not just some of the recommendations, but most of the recommendations were adopted to fulfill this plan. We have not gotten, that college has been there almost 20 years now. We have never received a complaint from a student or a faculty member about the noise levels. We accommodated for all of those in the building and construction of that facility. It's time that we move forward and allow Lemoore to take a step forward and to solve some of the issues, not only for the new Navy personnel who are going to be coming in the next 3, 4, 5 years, there'll be adequate housing for them to live and reside in this great community. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to touch on a few more points. I know I put the history of the west side in your staff report, but just to add more to the history of the west side and so that the public can hear the items. We've heard about the West Hills College and how it was the idea back in 1996, 97, and then it opened to students in 2003. And then I touched on that there's a middle college, high school, and elementary school.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
I think you should wait. I just got the where you should wait till after public comment. Then you
Oh, I'm
comment.
sorry.
No, I'm sorry for letting you
Okay.
go. Okay.
Thank you.
Any more public comment? Okay.
Jennifer Solis again, 757 Redwood Lane. If you guys know where that address is, it's in the Bush and 41 area by the West Hills. In my prior job, I worked with West Hills a lot. I love the team out there. Living here, I've always expected homes to be built out there. When I see kids get on and off that bus that only goes once an hour, I've thought, gosh, wouldn't it be nicer if they lived closer? Just something I've always thought, like we should have student housing. I came from a place that had the largest, where I went to school, had the larger homes. 5 or 6 girls would rent the home out, parent would buy it, whatever, and we would figure it out. And so I kind of just expected that was always going to be the plan. I knew it was part of the general plan. And then the city council meeting happened on the 16th, and I got the impression that the Navy wasn't involved. And so I was excited relieved to hear how much they were involved. And I think the residents need to know that and kind of hear the information tonight. So what I've learned in the past 2 weeks, going back with Stewart's like, we're getting educated, thank you. So I've learned, and since I don't have like a map to point to, but Nathan's got a big old map that he, helped me point to. So here's kind of what I remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. When the original JLU study was done, the agreements, you kind of went back and forth, and the agreement was Marsh Road. And so in visual, because good job, Judy, on north, east, south, and west. But for those peeps at home that don't know those terms, in visual, This is Marsh Road. This is the development that has already been approved that we're waiting for Lemoore. This is West Hills. This is what we're talking about today, just to develop, further. This is 41, which I drive down on a daily basis and get off on that bush. I've been almost hit a bunch of times. I would like it developed. I learned that the city's hands are tied when it comes to that. Sorry, that was the progression. Hope that made sense. So when I learned that the city's hands were tied to develop that and improve that exit, because if you've done it, it's difficult. You can get hit pretty easily. I mean, they're coming from the back over. When I learned that the developers are the ones that have to put that into the cost, they can't come out of the city budget to be able to do that. And this whole process has just continued to open my eyes, because when we look at what the city can and can't do, and we talked about it on the Facebook Live again, there's my plug for like the 4th time for that thing. Nathan did a great job. So did Marissa. And when I look at that, it's like, okay, well, me at home, this is how I would change the budget. I would just prioritize rows. But what we're learning today is there's a process, there's rules, there's limitations, there's a way that it has to be done. And I've talked to Plord, he's the one that got back to me this week, and I kind of told him my point, like, I agree with what's being said here today. I think there can be an agreement. I do agree we have to listen to all sides and come to a solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Reed, 1060 Parr Avenue. Just a footnote, thanking Nathan for sending that message to me that you missed me at the last council meeting. I was on a 26-day, 15 states outside of California, almost 6,400-mile road trip. And I got back this afternoon. Wow. So I would like to say this. I guess I missed the fireworks, so to speak, with the flyover. And unfortunately, the council caved. That's the only way I can explain it. The council caved. Also, I'm no legal expert, but I would think the use of personnel, equipment, fuel for political purposes is not legal. Think about that. The Navy used personnel and equipment for a political purpose. I don't think that's right. So do what you got to do, but remember that.
John Hodson, 14 South Byron. Last time I listened to All Talk, we had the air traffic controller out here. Just after some of these gentlemen have just talked now, I have to speak up for the Navy here. I'm an aviation geek. But I like civil airliners rather than fighter aircraft. But one of the decisions was made was because you didn't want a plane crashing into homes. Okay, that was one decision. The other thing is West Hills College is from 6 o'clock maybe in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. Everybody goes home. The Navy talked about when they were flying. That is an instrument landing runway used at night to prepare to land on a carrier. The homes are going to have people in them at night, not as much during the day. That's when the noise and everything's going to be there. So if you want to fix it, make Lennar homes. Make a home that is totally soundproof, and maybe it's okay, but is it going to be totally crash proof? Thank you.
Thank you.
Jesus Garcia, 984 East D Street. I going to give you a couple of my thoughts about this. I have really mixed concerns about this situation. For one, is I want to have to agree with Jeff and Frank that we do need rooftops into this community. No questions on that. My question for you is, have we exhausted all the different possibilities of building away from the west side? The reason why I'm saying that is, and I need to thank you because not everybody didn't get it, but you got it when the young lady here was talking about safety. Safety is extremely important, you know. We fly a lot, these guys at the Naval Air Station, and the amount of hours that they fly compared to the accidents that have happened, that happened in the past. Very little. But it takes one accident. When I first got to the St. Naval Air Station back in 1984, I was a member of my squadron's reclamation team. We had an accident. One of our young student pilots took off, and as soon as he took off, he had issues with his jet. Unfortunately, he had to eject. The plane went down right after takeoff. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of open land, north of the Naval Air Station where this aircraft landed. It just happened to be that the aircraft landed right on top of a main line of irrigation. That airplane could have landed 20 feet to either side. And probably not would have happened, but it's just the main structure of the aircraft landed right on that type of line. And unfortunately, that line at the time, had water, power was brought up. By the time we arrived to the site, I cannot tell you how much water had already spilled in there. Okay? So the Navy got a nice little bill about what the destruction happened over there. On the last meeting that we had, you asked a question about the flight path. I went to the site, you guys put it together, and I found the enclosure that you guys put in there that tells you about the path of the aircraft. If you have not seen it, take a look at it, and look at it where the round is, okay? I agree that we need rooftops, but I will strongly suggest let's look at somewhere else. And I know the college, as a former student of the college, I took my classes when I was at Cinnamon. Both my kids, my son and my daughter, they both graduated from school, from that college. So, they're here. I just want to, take a look to see if we can build anywhere else. If it has to be there, it has to be there, but let's look at somewhere else to see if it's possible to get those rooftops into our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, city attorney, city manager. My name is Pat Ricuti. Reside in Clovis, California. I'm a farmer, and I made a major investment here in the community of Lemoore about 12 years ago. It was an opportunity because of the the recession, and in collaboration, thought it was a good opportunity to join a community that has the ability to thrive and to grow. Had the promise of former councils, current council, to continue that growth, to continue that vitality that has been promised over the years through the general plans, and have subsequently made another investment to fortify how the amount, the quality that will be built within that area. If you can ask anyone in our community where I'm from, we believe in nothing but quality, and we're going to do it the right way. And that's why we've embraced Lennar as one of the best builders there is around to do that kind of a job. Embraced the support of the West Hills College. Tremendous institution, tremendous opportunity for young people and adults alike to grow and to prosper in this community. We're offering that collaborative effort to increase the number of rooftops that are needed here, and making sure that it is a safe community. I know there's that emphasis of safety, but I don't believe I've heard any statistics of any airplane crashes from Lemoore Naval Air Station around this community. And yeah, there might be one, but no one here but God will determine where that crash is going to be. It could be right here in this chamber. It could be right on the base. And as I had illustrated the last time, these aircraft land on aircraft carriers that are, what, 1/8 of a mile long or so? And for them, and they have a 5-mile approach here to hit an aircraft carrier. So, I mean, safety is very important, but we have to look at the logic behind that scheme of safety. And I really appreciate your bringing this back up for a decision, and truly support your, hopefully you support this particular position.
Thank you.
Support this development. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Good evening. Thanks for the time. My name is Commander Joe Griffo. I'm the Senior Legal Counsel at the Department of the Navy at the Naval Air Station. Talked to some of you guys on staff. Previously reached out. Just two comments. One is just a citizen. I'm an East Coast guy. Never lived here before. So California's new. But I'll say just everything I've heard tonight, there's one thing in common I think this room has. There's a passion for this area. It's a small town. I grew up in New York City. So I do think from my perspective, everyone's got one thing in common. They like this place. And there's a lot of different stakeholders with different interests. So just cool to hear that. That's my citizen perspective. Just as the council perspective, the only thing I would say is I do think missed opportunity. I think it'd be great to see this body get together and say, you know what, let's put everyone at the table and let's talk cooperatively about it. I think there's a lot of things we could still get on the same page about, and I'd be good to see that. So thanks for your time. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Again, guys, Chris Garcia, 170 Barcelona Drive. So listening to everything going on, obviously when I was raised, my father's Marine for 20 years, so I learned about history, military, and El Toro was one of the big ones. I believe if I did not misunderstand when Dr. Gordon mentioned the campus not getting any complaints about the noise, or he knew about the jet noise and took that in consideration when building that campus. So my only question is, Lennar going to take that same consideration and make sure the same specs are followed? So windows, doors are thick, there are no noise complaints in the day, but the issue is at night. That's, obviously that's a big one for that. And then I guess just a thought / question I'm left with, and I'll leave as well, is God forbid, okay, let's say it gets built, obviously we support it and everything, which is great. But what happens in 20 years from now or 30 years from now if that base has to close? What happens to the campus? So my only concern is just if we build the campus, we get this big facility, which is already beautiful, which will get bigger, obviously, with all the deals. Let's say we do grow, bring the base in, more people come, but God forbid something happens with noise complaints, crashes, or any kind of thing like that. If the base has to close and the people have to leave, does the campus also shutter with that, or does the campus get smaller with that? So I just don't know if there's any thought with that in the future, I guess, 20, 30 years from now, if this happens today. Because that's obviously not something that we will face the consequences of, but our children will. So that's just, something to kind of leave with. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Bring it back to the council. Wait. Ms. Harwell?
I will close public comment.
I'm gonna close public comment. Have you come on back up? Almost forgot about you.
Thank you. Sorry about that earlier. I just wanted to touch base on some of the items that were in the JLUs. I mentioned previously about the items that council supported back in 2011. They resolved to support 1 through 11 and 15 through 19. There were 5 that weren't supported. But during that time, then from 2011, council did support other items. We added the overlay zone was one of them. We added that into our zoning ordinance. And so we have overlay zone 1, 2, and 3, which was one of the recommendations. We also, one of the items was about the REPI program. Now that council did not support. We didn't go out and actively do anything for it, but we didn't oppose anything either. And that was that program that the developer on the west side went and eliminated the 228 housing units on the west side. That was through the REPI program. So in a way, we somehow supported it because one of the items that was part of that agreement to eliminate the 228 houses was also to eliminate Bush Street at Marsh Drive, west of Marsh Drive. That was another item that came back to council, and in 2011, that resolution was adopted. Council adopted the intent to eliminate development west of Marsh Drive. And then in 2013, council passed that resolution eliminating Bush Street west of. So those items were in addition to the 16 that were already resolved to. And those are the items that I wanted to add because I thought those were kind of important for you to know that it wasn't just the 16, there were additional items. And since then, since the 2008 general plan update, any time that an item has been brought forward for development on the west side, council has determined that the 2008 general plan with the mix of uses on the west side for housing, commercial, retail, professional office, all of those uses were compatible uses around the college and have stuck to the plan that was identified in the 2008 general plan update. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, going back to council. You guys want to speak on this? Mr. Lyons?
I'll let Mr. Plord go first.
Well, you know, I can understand both sides of the argument, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I've heard this all before. You know, let's get together with the Naval Air Station and come up with a solution. But none of the solutions that I have heard from them would give a compatible use that would include housing. And so back in 2011, we didn't agree to one of the items that they wanted us to agree on, which was to eliminate housing on the west side. And to the best of my knowledge, we've been going back and forth ever since then to try to get housing, and it's hard to get a developer to come up and want to develop on the west side if they see a political element. Well, we're not going to, you know, the city council is not going to please everybody. And that is within our jurisdiction. The Kings County can make recommendations, the Naval Air Station can make recommendations, the citizens can make recommendations, but it's, you know, the city council has to make a decision. So what is in the best interest of the citizens of Lemoore? A vacant land on the west side, infinitum, according to the military. There's no compatible use on the west side for housing. I'm just going to put words out there that, you know, based on what I've heard from the Navy, that is what I get from their viewpoint. And I can understand it. That's a reasonable person's view. There's a possibility of noise. Aircraft accidents can happen anywhere. Like we had a comment there, it's an act of God. Now, I don't think God is you know, going to say, okay, that airplane is going to crash on the west side at this location. It's going to be, you know, more than that. But it's, you know, we are going to take every effort that we can to mitigate the dangers of that. We have put in or asked the developer, and it's in the general plan to have housing on the west side, and the noise mitigation is in the development. The businesses at our last meeting were coming in and opposing the special tax measure, and one of their complaints were, well, it's going to drive away sales in the city. Well, one of the things that could create sales in the city is more homes. And so if more people live in Lemoore, hopefully they'll shop in Lemoore and more business will be done in Lemoore. And hopefully some of those people will be stationed at NAS Lemoore so they can enjoy the benefits of living in a small town environment. I don't like the idea of building a high-rise parking structure at the end of an active runway at NES Lemoore. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about building homes several miles away from the runway. Sure, they fly over it, but should we have vacant land for years and years for a possibility? You know, our mission or our duty here on the council is to make a decision. And if we deprive a property owner of building on land that they own, to me, that would be unfair. And so I'm swaying towards going towards building on the west side.
There might even be consequences. You're on your last statement.
Consequences of not building, there's many aspects to it, but I think that's what I want to say.
Mr. Lyons?
You
wanna
go.
say anything?
All right, fine. I'm gonna take my mask off, guys. Oh my goodness. So, yeah, I'm gonna keep it somewhat brief. I just wanted to tell the Navy guys over here, I respect you guys for putting that uniform on and allowing yourself to be held to a higher standard. It's really what it is. And I'm a patriot. You drive by my house right now, there's a flag with a light on it, and there's a green light burning on the corner of my house. Some people might not know what that green light is, but those two guys know. They know why that light's there. Safety. Yeah, I agree with safety, but I think those jets are pretty safe. I really do. Otherwise, they would have been spinning donuts above our heads the other day. Normally, I would pay to watch an air show. Next time, I wish they'd just give me a heads up, and I'd like to go watch it. The noise mitigation, like Mr. Plord said, there is a noise mitigation in those homes. I remember reading that, and so that is going to protect our Navy, having that noise mitigation in there. And the last thing that is on my mind is that if we didn't move forward with this, the way we've told everybody that we would and why we've planned the way we've planned, there might be consequences. They might be heavy too. I don't know. I mean, my crystal ball is really foggy sometimes, and but that's all I've got to say. I'll put my mask back on now.
It's kind of nice.
Oh, it is.
I don't
It
know.
felt
I
good.
might talk for half an hour. Just keep it on. Just kidding. No, I can really see all sides, and like several people said, you're never going to make everybody happy.
Oh, you're lying.
West Hills. I don't know how many people in this room have attended West Hills at once or twice, or maybe they're AAAS. I know I'm an alum of West Hills, and it made a positive change in my life to allow me to go on to, a four-year institution. Navy, obviously a huge partner in our community. So everybody's got a positive. I agree with Mr. Plord. We live in arguably, in my humble opinion, the greatest nation on this earth. And capitalism makes you more efficient, makes you stronger, makes you better. And for a man or a woman or a company to invest in something with an expectation of getting a return on their money, you certainly can't knock somebody for that. Heck, I wish I could go back to 2008 and purchase that land and move, but I can't. But we should all strive to make our financial situation a little bit better. So, I think the Navy talked about a REPI program where they bought some of the houses from that one development, and it's escaping me right now, the double F. But they didn't buy all of them. And if you're going to purchase some and allow some to remain out there, if you were really that against it, why wouldn't you purchase them all? And I don't know, maybe it was a financial deal. Maybe they only had so much money. I don't know. But I don't know. I guess it's time to put the mask back on.
Bummer.
But again, thank you, everybody, for presenting and taking your time.
Okay, here we go. A young man back there grabbed my attention in the back, Mr. Garcia's son, about El Toro, the history of El Toro, the complaints they got over there by Disneyland, and now it's a ghost town with a little golf course over there now. It's a thing that is called BRAC. Do anybody know what that is? BRAC is base, realignment, and closure. I don't want our NAS to put us in the BRAC program where we could be considered of a high risk to the military where they can pack up and leave anytime. So be careful when you guys make these decisions. Be extra careful when you guys make these decisions. Because they've been here since 1961 and they brought a lot of things here. And I think they know about jets more than the civilians do. They've been flying them a lot longer than we've been looking at them. So before you make these decisions, think and really think hard. Is this what you want to do? The rooftops, how you gonna get rooftops if you ain't got nobody here? They packed up and left. Not this, you look at Alameda, the same thing. They got considered people start complaining and going on. And they've been doing us a favor ever since 1961. And here we is saying, okay, I ain't gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. We got all other lands out there we could build on, but we want to build where you saying, let's work together. Let's try to talk this thing out. That young man from the East Coast that's in the military, he said something. Let's bring something back to the table where we can talk and work this thing out better than what it is. But if you guys don't want to, I'm only one vote. Do how you feel, but I will hate to see this place. And take note of this young man back there with Lemoore, said the board of supervisors was in your favor. I disagree. That's why they said the military has gave over $1 billion to this Kings County. So I know I might not be so articulate, but I know I got common sense to know what's right and what's wrong. So you guys just pay attention on this vote and we'll go from there. That's all I have to say. God bless. Could I get a motion?
Well, I think what we're going to make a decision on is what's in the best interest of the city of Lemoore, near term and long term. So that's what we have to think about. And so with that, I move that we adopt ordinance number 2020-05 and ordinance 2020-06 approving the second reading of the zoning map amendment number 2020-02 and planned unit development 2020-01.
Can I get a second?
Second.
I got a motion by Mr. Fluid, a second by Mr. Lyons. Mr. Fluid?
Aye.
Mr. Lyons?
I would like to say, before I say aye to the Navy, you are not falling on deaf ears. There's been a lot of consideration taken in this, a lot. And if it comes down to doing what's best for my town or making the Navy happy, I'm sorry, I have to do what's best for my town. You're never going to make everybody happy sitting up here. And if you do, you're lying to somebody. And in this case, I am sorry that I'm going to side with my town. Aye.
Mr. Scody?
I'll explain later. Aye.
Okay. And I think you guys already know, I get to speak. You got to speak before you got the motion in, so I'm going to speak my piece. I'm looking at this and I say, once again, I'm going to side with the military. I vote no, just because every time I go to Seymour, every time I go anywhere, I see Virginia license tags, Indiana license tag, Mississippi license tag, and it's more of them than it is us, and they really brought our city up. And they brought Kings County up, they brought Tulare County up, and they brought Fresno County up, and I vote no. It passes. Okay. Moving along. Brief council report and request. City council report, Mr. Lyons?
So I did have one meeting with the Aging Commission, and I did it on, I don't know what that was. It was a online teleconference thing, and I think the most I got out of it was that everything is going normal. They're trying to do as much as they can, and I've got nothing really special to report from that. And man, I look for funner days sitting up here. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm done.
I don't know about funner days. I want proactive days. I want things to change for the better. And I said I would say a little bit later, I'm all about the Navy, but let's be honest. There's already 2 developments approved out there that the 2006 one probably has nowhere near the decibel level and the sounds that are anywhere near in the Lemoore project. Okay, Lenore's got to provide a house that meets, and I've read it, 60 to 70 decibels, don't quote me on that, but something that's relatively low, where the old one from 2006 might not have that same stuff in there. So if we're gonna have problems out there with people complaining about the Navy, it's not gonna be in the Lemoore or any other developments that are gonna be built out there, because I don't think that this council or any council wants the Navy to leave. They are an unbelievably important aspect of our community, both financially, just getting stuff done. Because if something needs to be done, the Navy will come out and they will help you. I mean, heck, I think the Seabees actually built the North Bay of the Lemoore Volunteer Fire Department. So things need to happen, it'll happen. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the Navy, but we need rooftops, and there's development already approved out there. When those companies go forth with that, that's on them, but it's going to happen at some juncture. Money talks. So I think that this is going to benefit you and me, tax dollar wise, off of property taxes. I think that you bring 362 homes into the area and you have 2 or 3 people, that's another 1,000 people that are coming to Lemoore. That's putting tax dollars here. That's giving us more heads when these companies come and say, oh, you only have 27,000 people here. We ain't building. But if we can put it up 35, 40,000, expand, and I'm not saying we can only go to the west side, because at the last meeting I said, why don't we head north? There's all kinds of land north. Let's push it that way. And I'm all about that. I don't think we need to go start saying every acre out there that we need to develop. We don't. But I don't mind that guy being out there because there's others out there. But let's focus our building going north, maybe east, even south. But we need more people. We need businesses, and we need people to shop local. Thank you guys for showing up, staying until 10:15-ish. You guys be safe and take care of yourselves, please. Thank you.
Okay, it's my turn. Split decisions tonight. We had a couple of them, or a few. And you know, that means, I'll just go ahead and take this off for now. Now I'm losing my audio amplifier. You have a couple of split decisions because, you know, it's point of views. You do your research, you make the best decision you can on the, you know, with the facts you have at hand, and you have to stand by it. And if you vote yes, it's because you feel in your heart it's in the best interest of Lemoore. If you vote no, that's in the best interest of Lemoore, in your view. And I respect that. Now, let's take a look at how long Lemoore has been here. On the 4th of July was the 120th birthday of Lemoore. 1900 on the 4th of July. So we've been here 120 years, and I hope we're here, you know, forever. But I know that as long as we're going to have a city council, there's going to be split decisions on everything. and nobody's going to be happy. Everybody in this room is not happy with every vote we took tonight. And some of those people left already. And so the only thing we can do is, in the best judgment, try to make the best decision on behalf of the citizens that we can. And we have to just agree to disagree on some things.
Absolutely.
So with that, I want to wish Lemoore a happy birthday and pass it on to the mayor.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and.
So I attended the mosquito abatement meeting. They're out starting to get all their seasonal guys back to work, out looking at mosquitoes, but there is one point of interest for Lemoore. The area between Fallen Leaf and Cinnamon, just to the west of Fox, there's a species of mosquito called the Aedes aegypti. It's a female. It lives in flower pots and where water is standing water, and even in the base of your plants where it completely dries up but then fills back up as you water. They're nesting here in Lemoore. You'll know if you have them. They only bite around your ankles, and they will bite 24 hours a day. So if you're getting bite marks or see any of your kids with bite marks around their ankles and they're in Lemoore, they're aware of it and they're doing remediation when they can, but just something to be aware of. So if anybody in your family is being bit around the ankles, start looking at your planters. You might have a mosquito issue. So that was it. Thank you.
All right. I noticed you brought up Lemoore. You forgot about Mr. Lemoore, Dr. Lemoore. Where did he live at? What part of Lemoore? I always wondered about that.
Wasn't that their house?
It was over there by the Vineyard Inn. I heard this guy, and then you hear all the history about Lemoore. I like that history that you gave me. But the history I want to give you right now is we had in June, the last meeting when it failed, what we thought it failed, and then we came back and found out we had more people than what we had today that disapproved of the military, that approved listening to hearing the military out. They agreed, and it was a house full. It wasn't a house full the night like it was that night. But that being said, I am not upset at how anybody votes because we all have our own perception how things go. But I must say, that's why it's so important. I hope we're still alive to go out and don't complain, but go out and run for city council. Don't complain about it. Don't complain about the council. If you feel that this is what needs to be done for you to run and to make a difference, please. Because a lot of us are not going to be here after this next election. So I'm just letting you know. So that's all I have to say. God bless. Bye-bye.